Peace, everyone. I'm on a little early, I guess, from what I said, but it gives me time to draw up our new total. All right. How is everybody? This is our new total. You guys are amazing. You now own 11,126,755 shares. I mean, 11 million, sorry, 11 million. 8%. 8% of the outstanding, according to Yahoo. 192 players, holders, shareholders, 11 million shares. And guys, they're going to come after it. These other people, when this is worth something, are going to try to come after that as if it belongs to them, but it belongs to you. This community is you. It doesn't belong to Frank. It doesn't belong to other people who are going to come bring you bad ideas because they're getting paid stock. And to be clear, I'm not against people getting paid. It's just the story's got to make sense. And just to let you know, of course, I've made it clear, I'm not being paid anything by Railtown. I do not have a contract with them, consulting or otherwise. I have not received shares, warrants, cash. I thought I was going to get a hat, but even that hasn't arrived. That'd be fun if I had a hat. I could show it to you. But I don't have any arrangement with Railtown. But again, we're at 11 million shares. 11 million shares. 11 million shares. 8%. That's really good. I mean, just to put that in perspective, if the stock went to $10, we'd have $100 million. And guess who's going to come after it? The CEO of the next COSM or the next, company that has the answer to energy storage, unlike any other company out there that's in the same space. All right. What time is it? 1:51. So let's go through some of what you guys are saying. Hawaii. Good morning, Hawaii. New total for Hawaii. I'm not Bank of Hawaii. Good for you. That's a great total. That is a great total. That's an awesome total. That's probably top 15, maybe top 20. Really good. It's good. Schwab was showing a price. I'm going to show you that 765 is not an unreasonable target. I'm going to show that to you just now. Okay, email it to me. I'll put it up. Sorry I'm a little late today. I'm not feeling that great. This medicine I'm taking finally hit me. I think that's it. I don't know. Good job, Doug. That's a great amount of stock. Any significant amount, you guys are gonna I think 808, you are in the top 20. I erased the list, so I have to make a new one. And I'll do that. Now my ear's killing me. Giuseppe, hi, William. Catching up Sunday projections. Excellent. Monday call review. Excellent. Hey, everything's excellent. I like that. Do you notice the shills aren't here? Remember, there's different kind of boo birds. There's the ones that are just doing day trading, and they might have done their trade and moved on. Hey, Chestnut. Giuseppe, accumulate. I don't know that we have much more time to accumulate, but I've been saying that for 2.5 months. And so you may very well do. Yeah. Friday, Uncle Andy, Uncle Albert, I could not. Mr. Albert. I don't feel so good. What do you do when you don't feel so good? Try not to focus on it is what you do. And be glad you can feel anything at all. That's what you do. Jack Hamilton, hello. I'm not Bank of Hawaii. Everybody think I Bank of Hawaii. And it's fair and balanced at Gmail. Fair and balanced at Gmail. I don't feel so good. I just don't feel so good. Hey, Mary Patton. Mary Patton added 250. That's a good number, Mary Patton. Old blood and guts. All right, so I'm going to show you. I only made one chart today to show you. I'm going to show it to you. And then we can go over some of the prices. But for right now, I just want to show you one thing. And go over it, of course. There's no perfect way of making projections. So this is my attempt to do that when you make projections, particularly now that we don't know anything, what I'm about to show you, I decided to keep my assumptions the same across five I don't know what to call it. What do you call it? 5 5 5 projections that other people made. So I came up with targets, and I'm going to go through it with you. But I only want you to focus on, I highlighted in blue what is the projection that I'm the most comfortable with. Remember, my thesis is that we're able to buy into Railtown at a pre-IPO price or a pre-money price. These aren't perfect analogies, but we're getting in at the R&D price before they finally are released from being restricted, so such that buyers can come in and we'll start to see a real market. That'll be kind of like an IPO. That'll be kind of like a bigger investment round by, in a private equity situation. So anyway, my view is you're going to see 10x as soon as the stock starts trading with knowledgeable buyers and well-heeled buyers who can't buy right now. They're not allowed to buy. How quickly? I think it could happen in a day, but it could take a week. It could take a month, but it's going to be very quick regardless. So I just want to go over these 5 scenarios, a few of which will seem preposterous. So here's the size of the markets. The top one is this research report, which was written a year ago. The addressable market is $3 billion. The second one is a number that was given in a presentation, I believe by Corey Brandolini. I wrote it down. I wrote down the 2 numbers. The $21 billion development tools market for 2025, and then a $309 billion AI software spend market, 309, for 2026, and then I see that my copying here wasn't very good, so sorry. And then the $17 billion developer market comes from the website of Railtown, and the $132 billion software as a solutions market comes from their website. So those are 5 addressable markets. The last 2 are within by the end of the decade. Anyway, those are 5. And then I did a 3% penetration, which comes from this research report. And I assumed 170 million shares outstanding, which also comes from this research report. So what are the variables? Well, we don't know what their penetration will be. I think it's going to be much, much higher than that, since they're the first to market, they're the best. And I think that's been confirmed by AI partners wishing to join up with them. And then the 170 million shares, it could be fewer than that. Currently, they have just under 140 million shares outstanding. So we don't really know. The top line, if you assume they have 90 million in annual recurring revenue, and remember that came from a research report from a year ago, that their targeted addressable market is 3 billion. If they get 3% of that, and you use a 25x multiple, that's the blue box, you come up with a target of $13.24. That's at 25x. If you want to be more conservative, you can cut that in half and come down to a multiple of 12.5 times revenue. And remember, this revenue doesn't have to hit per se. It's got to have traction, but it can be the projected revenue, and they'll pay these multiples. You can use 50x, 100x, or 150x and get much higher numbers. But I'm going to ignore those for now and just focus on 25x. 50x was the high multiple paid over the last 6 years. 100 to 150 are the scuttlebutt, the discussion from bankers, not that I've spoken with them, but I've been told from everyone from the private equity guys to Goldman Sachs for early stage, rapidly growing recurring revenue. But let's just focus on 25x. So the top line is a target market of only 3 billion with a 3% penetration. The second line is the projected 2025 software development tools market, the developer tools market, 21 billion. So if you assume a 3% penetration, let me just confirm that number. All of a sudden, that doesn't look right. Yeah, that's right. So it gives you an annualized recurring revenue of 630 million. That seems high, but that's only 3% of the 2025 developer tools market, 21 billion. Well, if you use 25x, you get a target price of $92 a share. Now, the next market is massive. It's 300 billion, and that's the estimated spend in 2026 by corporations to upgrade their software, create software, fix software to make it AI. And that spend is not a cost. It's actually a positive to these companies. Well, if Railtown, remember who has the best product, world-class, first to market, battle tested, if they got 3% of that market, it would be $9 billion in revenue. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it this year or next year, but if that's in somebody's projections, that's very exciting. I would give this target a wide berth. I wouldn't get all excited about it, but I'm just showing you it's only 3% of 300 billion market. It gives you a target well over $1,000 a share. I'm not calling for that anytime soon. Then you have a market here, according to Railtown's website, which has not been updated, about their targeted they call it the global developer tools market. Over the next 5 years, they expect it to grow to 17.2 billion. I think this number is probably the best number on all this list. This is simply the global developer tools market as presented on Railtown's website and as calculated or estimated by Business Research Insights, 17.2 billion. Now, if they got 3% of that, they'd have 500 million in annual revenue, only 3% of that. And that gives you a $75 target at 25x. using this number of shares. I think that's probably the best addressable market estimate. And then again, coming from Railtown's website and calculated by Vantage Market Research, the global artificial intelligence as a service market is estimated to be $132 billion by the end of the decade. And if Railtown were able to get 3% of that, their I have to look. I think I chopped that off. Let me just look at my. No, I didn't really. That's right. So that would be, believe it or not, annual revenue of almost $4 billion. I, again, find that something that we can think about, but let's not focus on it. That gives a target price of $580 a share. Now, all the way to the right, I used a column over here, and I don't know if you're missing it because that my dog is up there. I don't know. I can try to show it to you with my after we finish here. But using a 90% discount, taking 90% of the 25x number, discounting it by 90%. So I'm only going to use 10% of that per share price. 10% would give you in the top line $1.32 as a target. Now, it's very low. I think it's ridiculously low. On the 21 billion, the number 2, it would give you a target of 927. Now, this big one that's just way out of the world, it would give a target of $130 a share. Discounted now. Again, I think that's a real outlier. And then my favorite target is that fourth one down. 10% of the calculation at 25x gives you $7.50. If I had to pick one target on this sheet, that's where I think the stock will go. $7.50 as, let's say, by September sometime. Assuming they announce that they've completed the transaction, assuming that. And then the bottom number, the final number, it's probably reasonable, a $58 target. So again, what I did is I used other people's addressable markets. I used 3% penetration, which might be high on some of these bigger numbers, but I think it's low on some of the others. I expanded the shares by 30 million and came up with a 25x multiple times revenue with this blue per share valuation. On the far right, I only took 10% of that number to give a target over the short term, 10% of that number. If I had to pick one number out of here for what I think the stock will trade for in September / beginning of October, it would be the fourth one down the list, $7.50 a share. And I'll, just in case that wasn't clear, these are my 90% discount numbers and the addressable markets next to them. On a per share basis, This is the one I like the best right here, the fourth one down, $7.50 target. And that's the number that I think I'm most comfortable projecting. Everything else is, we need a lot more information, time. But what I want to show you from this chart, I bet if this analyst had a chance to rewrite Venkata, he or her, I don't know, she or he had a chance to rewrite this, I bet they'd put a zero next to that number. I bet these numbers would be 10 times greater than they are now. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming. So the first number is based off of this a year ago. $3 billion addressable market. The others, they have some huge numbers as the addressable market, which are there. Software is a huge business. Those are real addressable markets. And Railtown could get 3 or 4 or 5% of that, 10% of it. Remember, a lot of AI is in North America on a worldwide basis. So these are truly achievable numbers. And the bigger numbers is why the big companies will come buy Railtown, maybe. So my target coming out of the quiet period will be I'm willing to go higher, but let's say $7.50. That is only 10% of the price per share calculated as a target, not immediately. It might take 18 months, might take 2.5 years, might take, 3 years. But with a 25 multiple, not an out of this world multiple, with 3% penetration, that's a $75 target. And I think that's where Railtown could go there. Not right away. I'm not trying, I don't want you to have hot money. I tell you about the bigger numbers, by the way, because I know damn well that Frank Benedetto is going to come after your money as if it belongs to him, as if you are his audience. Respectfully, I think you guys have done too much work over too many years that this audience doesn't belong to Frank Benedetto. But he'll come after it. He has a lot of chutzpah. All right, let's go through some of the prices. Quantum Biopharmaceutical is now $25. So they run it up, they take your money, and they come down. They need your money to milk the cow. They need your money. So Quantum is down $1.23 today at $25. Out of all the stocks, that's the one that has seemed to go up on a 45-degree angle. But it's probably giving up the ghost now. Who knows? I wouldn't trade it. Finger today is up 3 cents at 141, but the volume is pretty high, actually, 200,000. The low was 136. It's the same pattern. They run it up and bring it down, run it up and bring it down. I don't see anything exciting there. G-Bucks is down 10 cents at 70 cents. Energy Vault, apparently there's a big push because I might show you this, but I don't really want to spoil your party, so I won't. Dun, 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 dun. one of the promoters is saying that NRGV won't stay in dollar land long. He's already here trying to get you to move your capital. Please don't. It might be the one that works, but look at this. Look at this. 300 million preferred equity. And it says it's not dilutive. And then it says it's 1.5 gigawatts. 1.5 gigawatts. Do you know how much? So they're gonna spend $1 billion to acquire, I guess, or develop 1.5 gigawatts of projects. They use debt, and they got a 15% return. It's really, this is not an exciting company. It's a lot of leverage for a low margin business. Everybody's in the business. And I just want to show you something. I didn't want that. I didn't want that. See, I don't think AI is very good. You got to use your own brains. I can't find an easy number for you. I found it earlier. All right, let's see. So I guess I got to put total in the question. Anyway, total worldwide energy production, 29,000 terawatts. 29,000 terawatts. Energy Vault is a puny company with no edge. No edge. But he wants you to go over there from Railtown. This is a guy that says he's pounding the table on Railtown. I can't find the number. I can't find the total. You can look it up, though. All I'm saying is this Energy Vault is going after a truly tiny piece of a gigantic, highly competitive market, and it has no particular edge. When they say that they raise preferred, they may or may not raise that money, but they say that it's not dilutive, but of course it is, because in the cap table, preferred's ahead of equity, and it gets paid something. So whatever the revenues are, whatever the deal is on the preferred, that comes out, that affects equity. Also, most of the time, when preferred is issued by hedge funds or private equity, they take control of the company. And then you never know what's going to happen afterward. So I just bring all that up. Wait till your account is big, and then you can play a tiny bit in Frank's sandbox if you really want to, because he's got a family, he's got to raise and look out for. So you got to help him so he can earn his living. But he's not thinking of you. Or, you know, what edge does he bring to you? I have no idea. But just wait till your account's big and you can just, you know, play with money you can throw away. If you do it now, I don't think it's fair to you as a community who have worked so hard, built this position, and then he comes in as an interlocutor and just says, hey, look, Energy Vault, you know. All right, let's keep going on some of your looks. Jack Hamilton, 11 million strong, exactly. Mary Patton just added 250 more. All right. That's great. I wrote it down. Bravo, bravo. Chucky says Finger's going to go to 2,000. Well, or FNG. I don't know what FNG is. That's a different stock, I guess. Let me look at what FNG is. Chucky wants you to go to FNG. I don't even know what stock that is. FNG stock. That's FANG. That's Dime. No, it's not. That's different. FNG stock. I don't know if there is one. Oh, it's ETF. I guess you can. It's a $10 ETF. New technology. I guess Chucky thinks this ETF is going to go to 2,000. It's not going to happen. I'm getting paper hands. Well, will I need you to talk me on it? I don't know, Northwest. You work for the shorts anyway. I'm not going to spend time on it. Hey, Steve. Lester, what happens to Finger? You always talk about it, and now Zilt. Well, I don't really want to talk about it today, but Finger is last trade $1.41. This year it went as high as $5.19, and right around the low this year is $1.03. Right around there, around $1.04. I came out to the audience. I didn't have the money to do it myself, and I said it looked like you could possibly make 2, 3, 4x on your money. That, in other words, the stock could go to 2, 3, 4, possibly $5, even $6 in a move. And as it went up, I suggested to people to sell calls against it, to sell stock. This really pissed off people, and I think it's the reason why I was ostracized from all the reindeer games, which is fine with me. I've had a lot of time to think about it and have some clarity maybe on what's going on there. But Lester, finger motion, what I think is primarily is and was a short squeeze story. I think finger motion did have a squeeze going on in approximately 2 Novembers ago. Your guys, your friends, they came in and busted that squeeze. Fidelity was having a hard time. Wells Fargo was having a hard time. And the stock was really moving. And I think it could have had a significant squeeze at that time. The methodology they used to bust it, they brought in Frank Benedetto, whoever the CEO is, COSM, and Lou Bravo. And these guys told you, one or all, that COSM was going to change its name, therefore it was going to squeeze. It was going to change its CUSIP number, therefore it was going to squeeze. It had a lot of revenues, a lot of contracts, which would lead to revenues. The CEO was talking to Lou, and the company would not do a deal with the shorts. They would not do a reverse split, and there was 2,000% short position. It was all crap. It was a completely bullshit story. But everybody bought into it because there was still the mania of trying to catch the last AMC or GME. Everyone, and it popped the squeeze, as you know, Lester, in Finger and GTII. Both of those stocks were shorted to oblivion afterwards. Now, Finger has recovered 2 or 3 times, and there were tradable moves in it. For me, what's recently happened with Finger is you had a chance to make 3 to 5 times your money. Most people didn't take it. I recommended it. People didn't take it. I also believe that Finger Motion now has reduced. If you look, you can go to the Roth Capital Conference and you can find Finger Motion's most recent presentation. They've reduced it to 4 parts, not 6 or 7, 4 parts, to my memory. Sapientus, big data, the command and control contract, the leisure app, the lifestyle app, and the SMS top-up and RCM messaging businesses. These are now their 4 engines of growth. The company took $5 million from Roth Capital after being in the penalty box or something. Univest did nothing for 2 years. And as soon as Univest they got divorced, on the 31st day, Roth Capital got to work. They did a $5 million deal, which I'm sure you know about, Lester, so that you probably were able to short and do day trading, and maybe you work with the Toad, I don't know. But the Toad was the largest buyer of that offering from Roth Capital. Roth Capital acted as a flow-through to the shorts and Finger. I think it was a good deal that they did, even though it helped the criminals. They raised $5 million, but it was face value, but it was at a discount, and then they had to pay expenses, and then a G&A came out. We do not know how much was spent on their C2 contract bid. I was hoping that in the annual report there would be some clarity. There was none. We did learn on the 2 vehicles that they built up, they got revenue of about $110,000. So it's possible in some sort of calculation that maybe that $5 million was somewhere between 50 and 100 vehicles. It's possible now that there'll be a big revenue print third or fourth quarter, or maybe first quarter next year. We don't know. There was no guidance. To me, one of the frustrating things was I think the Toad was driving the stock price up, in preparation to do another financing through Roth Capital. The company did not take the opportunity when the stock was $4 or $5 to sell 20 million shares at $3 or 15 million shares at $3. So I think they missed out on the good side. Maybe they missed out on doing another toxic note that helped you guys. But I don't know how toxic it really, if they did the same one they did before, I'm not sure the toxicity was end the company. But there's no question it would help the toad. However, it would be $40-50 million in the company. And then that C2 contract could be sped up and they could cycle every quarter C2 contract after C2 contract. To me, within a year and a half, they'd just be rolling these C2 contracts, revenue coming in, and it paint a pretty picture. They didn't do that. They raised money from investors, good loyal investors, at a discount. So now, what does that mean? Does that mean the C2 contracts are not exclusive? They have to bid on them, and perhaps China's having trouble with, there's 160 automobile manufacturers in China. The first contract was apparently aligned with SAIC, but they did a partnership with a different company. Is it possible that there are delays in payouts from the government in getting vehicles done? We don't know. There was no discussion of that. But what is clear is they're not speeding up the C2 contract. So the C2 contract is going to be stretched out. That may be great for the company, but it's not going to lead to ramping up of revenues this year. Maybe there'll be a nice number toward the end of the year. We don't know yet. But it's going to be spread out and a more cautious approach on Finger's C2 contract. There was no real discussion that I saw on the science and the data laboratories for Sapientus, for the big data, for the two insurance companies. We know one insurance company backed off completely, so I think it's down to Pacific Life Re, but both companies are investing apparently in the data, and they might be at stage 2 or stage 3. That looks like that's down the road, but that could be very positive to Finger at some point. Question is it really that exclusive? Finger has about 10% of the top-up business and the messaging business, which they do with the top 3 telecoms in China, therefore probably with the government. They have a great trust factor built up, but that's 10%. Who's doing the other 90%? They also have access to data. So that's where the Sapientus lies. That's where the C2 contracts lie. I think the lifestyle app is not even worth talking about in terms of what Wall Street would give value to the company for. So that leaves the top-up business, the SMS business, the messaging business. Those businesses have carried the company at roughly $35 million a year with no profit, but it does carry the company. What multiple do you put on that? I don't know. Probably a multiple of 2x is very high on a business that is low margin and isn't really growing that much. And that would give you a target market cap of maybe 70 to 75 million. And the market cap in Finger right now is 90 million. I think that Finger went on NASDAQ. It's being destroyed by NASDAQ. Adina Friedman doesn't care about that. And so you've got a company which is in the Chinese market. China looks to be in a depression, believe it or not. The NASDAQ market is a place where, as you know, there's options, puts and calls. You can create synthetic shares. You can create derivatives. You can play with the stock price. I think the Toad got it up to $5, but he's now driven it down, probably making profits. So there's a lot of cheating that can go on in the NASDAQ market, and Finger is subject to that. But mostly, Finger Motion is going through August, and there is no potential for news in August, in my opinion. Maybe September, maybe October. So as a stock to talk about, it pales in comparison to Railtown. I think Railtown, you could have news on Railtown any minute, any day, any week, and certainly by the middle of September. And Railtown is a 10x. Finger Motion, I think, has a risk of going under $1 in the short run. Finger Motion has a treacherous 6 months ahead. Just think about it. If there's another C2 contract put out for tender, which I don't understand why this Finger Motion has an exclusive, and it's apparently for the entire country, but yet they have to bid on them. I don't understand that. But if there's a new bid that has to come out, Lester, nobody's working in August. They don't work in August. So let's say in September there's a new bid. Well, where's Finger going to come up with that money? The current C2 contract isn't probably ready to be paid for. So where are they going to come? They're going to go to Roth Capital or to their current share investors. Current investors show no indication that they're willing to pay a higher than market price for stock. In fact, the last deal they did was at approximately, to my memory, a 30%, maybe 40% discount to market. The stock currently trades at $1.41. What would a 40% discount mean they would raise money at? Probably at $1. If they went to Roth Capital and they had to raise money in size, and it probably would be the Toad. Last time the Toad dropped the stock price by at least a third. It went from $2.60 down to $1.50 with 1.5 warrant coverage, and then he drove the stock down to almost $1. So my guess is there's a risk in Finger Motion if they get a contract over the next 90 days that they'd have to do a deal, and it would be at a discount to $1.40. Maybe $1, maybe $1.25, maybe 75 cents. That's what the risk I see in Finger. I'd rather have money elsewhere, let other people take that risk. Railtown at 50 cents. I just gave you the numbers, Lester. If Railtown can, there's two reasons Railtown's at 50 cents. One, it's you guys. You guys are suppressing the stock because you're trapped. Too bad. The other is that the buyers in Canada, it's a Canadian stock, it's not an over-the-counter stock, the buyers at AI partnerships, all the founders, all the owners, all the people that invest with them and know them cannot buy because they know the story. They would go to jail. You don't go to jail, but they would. Railtown, same thing. All the big investors, the insiders, they cannot buy the stock. But why? Because it's material information that's out there that the general public doesn't know. We don't know. So if they buy, they can go to jail. The Canaccord Genuity people cannot solicit orders from on the institutional side or the retail side as long as the stock's on their restricted list, because they're working on this announced transaction from February 11th. So the buyers can't buy that know the AI space, know how good the story is, and are ready and willing to buy. They can't buy. And then you guys are selling it off because that's what you do. Not that you're smart, not that you know anything. And so you have a stock in the case of Railtown, which is trading at 50 cents. because on the one hand, the price is being suppressed, and on the other hand, it's in a quiet period, so there's been no meaningful revenue, no growth targets, no meaningful news that anyone cares about in 6 months. Now, they have made news announcements. If you care to read them and study them, you can extrapolate. But there cannot be price discovery in this stock until the quiet period's over. Price discovery, in my judgment, means Railtown is 10x higher. So if I had 50 cents right now, if I had $1.50 right now, I would not buy one share of Finger, because your risk is it goes down and you lose a third of your money in the short run. In the short run. Railtown, if you have $1.50, you buy 3 shares of Railtown, I think that could be worth anywhere from $5 to $10 a share in the next 30 days. So Railtown, hands down, is where the money should be. Now, Finger, over the long term, in a highly competitive market, low margin market, in the Chinese market, might gain a footing. But the treachery is they've got to get beyond their need for money while the stock is $1.40. And you know that. You know that. Railtown, on the other hand, has the massive focus on AI coming from the top 7 AI companies in the world, the top 7 stocks in the American market, also coming from Wall Street. A lot of money is being raised for AI. There's a literal wall of capital on the sideline ready to go into AI 2.0 this fall when they all come back from vacation. So the wind is at the sails of almost every boat in the AI space, and Railtown, we know, is one of the best. How? Because the guys who founded Constellation Software, the guys who worked at Omer's, started a company called AI Partnerships. They gathered 160 of the best AI companies in a network, and when Railtown showed up, they said, hey, let's get married. Let's work together. We love Conductor. So, Lester, I really appreciate your sincere question. If you want updates on Finger, you need to go to the space calls. You put in $FNGR. You look for Ham Short Killer. He has conference calls every single day. He's now working with Frank Benedetto on Energy Vault and a couple of other stocks, but he still is your main source of information on Finger Motion. I suggest, Lester, that's where you can get the best information up to date. And by the way, I do not think Finger Motion will squeeze, ever. Just like I don't think AMC or GME will squeeze. Too much time has gone by. The system has ways to fight back. If it hadn't been those 3 guys, they would have come up with a different way. Thank you, Lester, for your sincere question. Hey, Eddie Eagle, how do you do? Jack Hamilton. I'm kayak fishing. See, everybody goes on vacation in August. Railtown significance. Just added another. Good for you, Jack. I'm going to write that down. That's all you got to do, Jack. Get it right and go fishing. That's all you got to do with Railtown. Buy your position, go fishing. That's all you got to do. You just cannot listen to Frank and other people getting your money back into motion in all these shitty stocks. One of them might work, but it'll just be chance. Marty Party is moving up. My new total. Wow, Marty. Good job. I'll get a new, I know Ted Williams wants a total. I think he was bumped to number 11, so it'll be the top 11. Beta M. What's going on at all with Finger? Any updates? I think I just gave one, Beta, and I really appreciate your attention to Finger. If you want to learn about finger motion, the best place to go is the Spaces calls, and you just, you go into Spaces, you put $FNGR, you hit search, follow Ham Short Killer. He has a call once or twice a day, and I think his focus is now working with Frank Benedetto. I don't know if he's doing that as a formal thing, but I think they're recommending, they're following two stocks right now, I believe. I don't follow them. I understand it's one of them is Energy Vault, which I do not think makes any sense at all. But Botter, if you need to focus on Finger, that's where I would go for it. I think Finger Motion has a tough 90 days through the end of the year. If it can get through that, you might have a stock that performs okay over the next 5 to 10 years. But I think there's much better stories out there, Botter. I've been predicting for many, many, many months that the S&P would go to 8,500, the Dow to 65,000, NASDAQ to 30,000, Russell to 4,000, gold to 5,000, and silver to 120. And then I think you're going to see a crash. And the kind of stock you want to be in on the way up, and then after that crash is probably not Finger Motion. But if you still want to follow Finger Motion as a stock that needs to be your main focus so that you'll come on here and ask me questions, I think it'd be more fruitful if you went to the Spaces call. Bill Michael, I have to laugh. Ham posted on X today that he was told by a broker that NRGV was going to go to $1.65 today. I truly believe he is a short. Well, I don't know if Ham's a short, but I think the work he does ends up helping the shorts. What the shorts want to do is get you all buying. It's critical if they're like the Toad does. The Toad turns on the algorithmic machines. He needs your buying to get the stock going so the two computers, the shorts and the longs, if they realize they're talking to each other, nothing happens. But if there's retail in there with unpredictable buying and fear of missing out, the thing might catch a little fire. But remember, the shorts sell into that. That's their whole game. So any of these stocks that go up, they sell into it. You've learned that in GME, AMC, MMTLP, MMAT, COSM, Clear Vision, or whatever that was for the plastic in the seas. And I think you're seeing it in Quantum right now, and you're going to see it in Mountain. I think Mountain's another Frank Benedetto stock. I don't know if Ham is following that, but Mountain was 20 bucks, I think, when he started kind of talking about it. It got as high as $26, and it's now $15. They need it up. They need it up. They need it up. And the story sounds great. You're going to be in on a squeeze, and they're taking your money out of the market as they sell up. If you want to trade that way, I'm not interested in it, because even if one of them works, you're going to lose on the rest of them. They want your money hot. They want your money hot and emotional. And, oh, I lost there. I need to go back in there. They don't know anything. They do not know anything. I believe by studying the news that has been released with Railtown, which my original interest was its similarity to an oil and gas software company that I've worked with for 5 years. And very similar story. Build it, cloud, get customers, and then let Halliburton or Schlumberger or a private equity group buy them. And that's what I originally saw with Railtown. The story got better, even though it's in a stall mode, it got better. They went to a conference, the AI in British Columbia conference. They met Dr. Tom Core and maybe John Ruffalo at that time at AI Partnerships. They joined AI Partnerships Corporation. AI Partnerships Corporation, which has the brain power of guys that have invested in technology via Omers and other and Omers Ventures and other venture firms, and they've done it for 20 and 30 years. They had the idea of starting a company based on the model of Constellation Software, which, by the way, was a company they funded with $25 million, is now worth $5,000 a share. It's now worth a market cap of $100 billion Canadian. They're going to copy that model in the burgeoning, hot almost, if you can use that word, AI 2.0 place with 150, 160 companies they brought together. And so it's really exciting. They decided, hey, out of the 160 companies we've looked at, this is the one. And I think it confirms that Conductor, which is Railtown's main product, is exceptional. And I think the news is there. We have to trust our brains, not our gut. And we have to say, wow, look what's coming. Boom, 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 boom. And then you don't have any of that information with any of these other stocks. You just hear about, hey, there's some guys, they own the majority of the float, there's a huge short position, and they're going to have to cover. You and I know that part of what goes on in the market is legal because of Bill Clinton. Brokerage firms are allowed to give you entitlements. They're allowed to give you an IOU. It's legal. They're allowed to do it. Now, the other securities laws they break, that's a different issue. But Wall Street has it under control. So if you want to keep chasing short squeeze stocks, go to Spaces, follow Frank Benedetto, follow Ham, follow Tony Denaro, follow, if you want to swing trade and do that, swing low, sweet chariot, go on space calls, do it. You'll lose your money and you'll lose your years and you'll lose your joy and you'll lose your happiness and your peace, but go do it. Finger guy. But you said $60 by July, or I never said by July or August $60. I did say $6, but you leave out half of the sentence. I said if they complete the deal. They haven't completed the deal yet. So finger guy, you're really dumb. I don't know how you got out of high school because you have no critical thinking and you don't listen well. I said, and I stand by it, I say it to this day, that if Railtown ever announces the completion of their acquisition of AI Partnerships, it will bring in a flood of buyers who right now are precluded from buying because the stock is in a quiet period. It will bring in momentum. It'll bring in research reports. It will allow the company to start talking about revenue and revenue projections. I believe the stock will go to $6. Now, August isn't over, finger guy. It is still possible that Railtown will announce in August that they completed the acquisition of AI Partnerships Corp, a company that has 160 AI companies in it, with the idea of rolling them up, and they do 400 million in revenue. Those companies, not AI Partnerships yet. They got to roll them up. So it's still possible that Railtown will be $6 in August. So I stand by the prediction that I made that Railtown will go up 10x once the deal, if I got to say, none of us know, but I believe the deal is just so far down the track, it's going to be completed. If the deal is completed and announced, I think you'll see 10x appreciation in the price of Railtown, and that is the starting point for all the good news coming over the next 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. And that 10x, I think, will happen really quickly. It could happen in an hour, it could happen in a day, it could happen in a week, it could happen in a month. But I believe it will happen within a month once the announcement is finalized and the company has acquired AI partnership and it's out of the quiet period. I think you'll see the stock at $6 or better. There you go, Finger. Giuseppe, Finger, a new name, same approach. Don't worry about it. Soon all scores will be settled. Lester, I have no choice but to keep my stock in Finger, as I'd lose if I take it out. Thanks for the explanation. Time for me to look into Railtown. You're just a liar. You don't own Finger. There was a woman that owned 1,000 shares of Finger at $3.60. And I said, I'd sell it, I'd buy Railtown. Railtown, I think, was trading at 28 cents. That 1,000 shares of Finger was able to buy, if she did it, over 12,000 of Railtown. And I got a lot of grief and blowback for it. But I was right. Right now, 1,000 shares of Finger would buy 2,800 shares of Railtown. I'd say whoever listened to my advice has come out way ahead, way ahead, way ahead. I would still do that, Lester. I'd still sell Finger now and buy Railtown. I do not think Finger's going to give you anything by way of return. If it does, it'll be maybe October. And in that time frame, you can make 10x at least, in my judgment, on Railtown. But thank you, Lester, for your confusion. FNG, it's a weird ETF, Chucky. I don't know why you would be recommending a technology ETF at $10. I guess you think it's going to go to 2,000. I would suggest that that's not a really good idea. Railtown, hands down. I think that's right, Julius. Norm Foss. Yes, I can add that, Norm Foss. That would put you in the top 9, I think. I'll have to make a new list of top 11. Top 11. Bill Michael, I think you're being, oh. I deserve that, I guess. Maybe you're being sarcastic, and I hope that's the case. Recommending anyone listen to Ham is a disservice to your listeners. In my opinion, you know how I really appreciate you. Well, I think I think Cam's advice works when it's self-fulfilling. So if you're one of the first people to hear his advice, it's possible that the stock will go up. The problem is, if you're listening to the story, it's going to go to these huge numbers and it's hard to sell. So that's the problem with all these stories. If you get in, it's very hard to make an exit. Guys like the IR types that get shares, they sell. They just sell because there'll be another company they can get paid for. And so I think it's a losing game. And I look back on it and I wonder why I believed that short squeezes could occur. They have occurred. It's rare when we're in them. And they may still occur. But I figure I'll miss them. I'll miss them. I think it's foolish to chase short squeezes. I think it's foolish. Now, if you have a big account and you can dedicate 1% of your account to just playing with that, fine. You'll lose most of the time. Other times you'll maybe get your money back, and you'll just generate some tax losses. But there might be one that's fun to talk about eventually. But the odds of anybody hearing about the next HKD or TOP, I think are very low, very low. And I would even go so far, Bill, as to say that if I were cheating on the long side, because that's what they have to do too. I'm all for it because the system doesn't go after the criminals when they cheat. So fight them with their own tools. But if you're cheating on the long side, you can go to jail. And I would submit to you, one of the last people I would tell is somebody that goes out on space calls and tells 3,000 random people what the plans are in a whale manipulated short squeeze. I think it's very dangerous. So I think it's really low odds that you're ever going to hear a story that actually squeezes. I know Nixie's tried to make something happen, and it's been difficult. I think August is a difficult time. So anyway, it's 3:05. Let's see where stocks are. Railtown is in the red at 50 cents, 50.65. Mountain is up $2 at 15.50. Finger is up 2 cents at 140. G-Bucks is down 10 cents at 70 cents. Energy Vault is down 4.5 cents at 137.5. GTII is trading very little, 3,000 shares, but it traded at 16 cents. I would, if you can, sell that. I don't see any reason to hang on to that. Nixie is up 18 cents at 191. And they're talking about big revenue. Maybe they can make, I'm just not really interested in that story anymore. ZJYL is down at 64 cents. I think ZJYL is an obvious swap over to Railtown. Let me see what else is here. G-Bucks. G-Bucks is down. I already told you that. One. Down 10 cents. All right, let's go to Railtown, see where it's trading. It's 150,000 shares. 0.503 by 0.51. I'm sure when Tom Ronk's numbers come out, you're going to see that the selling is 85% fake, 90% fake. There might be some hedging against Canada, but even that means fake. All right. Bill, I think the two people I was talking to are not really shareholders. They're just shills. And if people blame me for finger motion, fine, but that doesn't mean Railtown doesn't need me, doesn't need you. I think Railtown's doing just fine on its own. So we got about an hour to chill. Let me just see if there's anything to talk about. Oh, God. Do you know this one? I was going to bring your attention to it, but this company, Perplexity, is offering to buy Chrome, the browser, for $35 billion. That's kind of the shark eating the whale. But it shows that's where the interest is in these. And obviously, the idea would be just conceptually, Chrome's business model is subscription. So if you're I don't even know what Perplexity does, it's AI. So if you can sell your AI on a subscription model to all the users of Chrome, you're going to create overnight value. Yeah, there's an article about saltwater injection in the Permian, and it's actually threatening the oil reserves rather than earthquakes. I don't think I'll read that now because it'll distract us, but it's something that's very interesting to me. And it may lead to the Railroad Commission pulling back on its ruling that you can produce from all zones at the same time. It means higher oil prices. All right, here's an article. Has the AI cycle peaked? We have to pay attention to this. Massive cap, this is by Tyler Durden, Sitting Ducks, has the AI cycle peaked? It's authored actually by Simon White at Bloomberg. Massive capex spending by artificial intelligence companies has raised the sensitivity of their stocks to interest rates as the Federal Reserve's independence is under attack, while the resulting overinvestment will shrink margins in the sector. That may or may not be true, and that may or may not be in all areas of AI, and it may not apply to AI 2.0. But these are the kind of things we got to pay attention to in the back of our heads. The AI arms race is in full flight. The largest tech firms have hugely increased their capex, capital expenditure, to develop custom AI chips. See, that's the chip market. Railtown's not in chips. Build vast data centers, that's another area, but Railtown's not in the data centers. And invest in power supply, and again, Railtown's not in power supply. to satisfy the insatiable needs of large language models. That leaves AI stocks subject to three main risks: rising duration risk, if interest rates go higher. I'm not so sure interest rates are going to go higher right now. Overinvestment driving down AI margins. Well, again, I think Railtown's margins you're going to be surprised with, because it's artificial intelligence that trains itself. It's proprietary. It's not heavily people driven after a certain point. And almost whatever they charge, the companies buying Railtown's product is going to have a positive effect on their bottom line. Innovation gains from large language models are no longer exponential but incremental, leaving valuations looking precarious. Well, yeah, but Railtown is in the beginning of its exponential move, not toward the end of it. And I don't think Railtown is a large language model company either. The spending is quite extraordinary. The average capex to sales ratio of the biggest spenders has almost doubled from 10 to 20% over the last year and a half. Meta, who has ramped up spending over the most over the last year, plans to build data center the size of Manhattan. Wow. Wonder if it'll sell pizza. Tech stocks are leading the market once again, pushing the market to new highs. But when a stock has lumpy expected cash flows long into the future, its sensitivity to interest rates rises. As rates rise, all of a sudden the present value of these future cash flows is worth space less. Yeah, but I'm not sure in the case of Railtown, for example, they're not going to have to borrow money. They're not going to have to take money out against interest rates. The question for tech investors is, are they comfortable with the risk when the Fed's independence is more jeopardy than any time since the 1940s? This is a bad article. The Fed's independence is because Trump wants interest rates down, not up. Yeah, it's not, I don't really want to read the rest of it. It's going on about interest rates affecting valuations. And they're talking about the top 7 companies. 2 years ago was buying Sophie for $5 per share. Should have held on to 2 years. Now the company's been. Yeah, a lot of my best accounts were the ones I just left alone, didn't do anything with. You'd be amazed if you just buy it right, you can sit tight, establish your position, and go fishing. Railtown is now down 0.0015 at 51 cents. It's 50 to 51. The volume is only 150,000. We've got 40 minutes to go. I'm going to sign off at 4 o'clock because I don't really have that much to say. I am proud of each of you for staying in there. You guys are learning so much about being real investors. 11 million shares, 8%. There's 192 of you. You're going to be richly rewarded. And I really hope that this first 10x move, if I'm correct, that you don't take money and go chasing these other rainbows. Railtown is a unique stock. It doesn't belong here. And once you're on it, to go back, I think will be a mistake. I don't have anything in it. I'm not being paid by the company. I wish I had thought of somehow getting you guys to send all your money to me and then I invested in the stock or something. That at least then I would know I'm not going to go chasing these other stories and somehow I made a fee. But there's nothing really in it for me. Maybe down the road we can do, something together. But my main goal is for you to try to recover monies lost and maybe have a substantial green as well. Good afternoon. AI partnership due for earnings release. I don't know. How do I find that out? They're not publicly traded. Railtown on my service says they're going to do their earnings. Well, actually, it doesn't say. But I don't think there'll be any earnings in either company, Ward, until they finish the February 11th memorandum of understanding. There's a big meeting between Putin and poor Marjorie Green. She's getting attacked. They'll do anything to protect Israel. What's America's most charming city? Is it Pittsburgh? It might be St. Augustine, I guess. I don't know. It is St. Augustine. You know, uh, I don't know if I read this article to you. I probably did already. Yeah, it's too much. It's a gold article. I'd like to talk about it, but one thing about gold, uh, uh, which I've predicted before, and I still would predict again, it's possible that gold will go 1-to-1 with the Dow. So if the Dow were to go to my target of 65,000, which is, I may be overestimating it. One could argue, well, wow, gold. Are you saying gold could go to $65,000 an ounce? I guess that's one thing I'm saying. But remember, after the markets do this blow off top, I think they're going to crash. And if from 65,000 the Dow fell 95%, the Dow would come down to 3,250. Well, that's also 1-to-1 with the Dow. So it's not, I don't have a point right now. It's just that as we start thinking of things if we do, in terms of owning gold and silver or owning assets, they're always moving in relation to each other. And sometimes assets relative to other assets are cheap. And I think we'll get to that point where we have to swap out of some things. Let me see what I'm Almost Legend is saying. Establish your position and go fishing is another great motto. Yeah, establish your position and go fishing. That's not bad. It's another great motto. Question, can you recall any stocks that you personally witnessed go 5, 10x quickly? Yeah, there was several companies in my lifetime that have done it. There was a company that, just trying to remember different stocks, a company called Valley Federal that did that. It did it very quickly, ran up. But then that was during the savings and loan crisis. And there were a lot of buyouts, and it had a positive asset base and earnings. But George H.W. Bush put in I can't remember the name of his program, but he went in and the government nationalized all the savings and loans, and they took the good ones and they gave it to the Bass brothers and all his buddies who made billions. So that one went up, but then many, many months later got wiped out. It's not really the same as stocks, but I early on started following Bob Prechter, and I watched options do better than that kind of returns overnight. It's a little different. That's more trading. I've seen biotech and oil and gas companies and technology companies easily do 10, 20 times very rapidly. But that's back when the stock market was different. It was totally different back then. And one of my one of my theories right now is AI 2.0 is going to behave a lot more like the markets used to behave. Why? Because you're going to have research desks, people that understand the industry, money ready to go, big players. You're going to have trading desks at some of these funds, all on the long side of AI. So the criminals are going to meet their match, and there'll be real price discovery. Um, and yes, I've seen all those markets do 10 and 20x. I saw home builders do it. I saw NV Homes go from $10 to 100 and I think 150 very quickly. I saw an oil company that I was renowned for, Kelly Oil and Gas, go from $2. It went slowly at first, and then it went to 30. And then, of course, the inevitable pullback came. But that was, they didn't find the oil that was rumored and talked about. They found water, so it came crashing back down. But that's different than Railtown. You're not going to have that with Railtown. What's more recently? I mean, a lot of technology companies ran up massively, very quickly. But I have not seen it happen. We've all seen it happen with these other stocks like GTII, Finger, even CRTD did it. They all went up 10x, 15x very, very quickly. But it's different. I wouldn't compare this to those at all. Railtown simply is missing buyers. And these are big, big buyers. Any buyer that knows is close to a Railtown and even has a hint of material or inside information, they cannot buy the stock. And they can't, if it would appear as if they're trading on information, they can't buy the stock. It's not worth it to them. They'll go to jail or they'll be stuck in a years-long battle. It's just not worth it. Anybody that's close to AI partnerships, same thing. Anybody close to Canaccord, same thing. So it's a real setup for once news is finalized. It's a real setup for a wave of buying to come into the stock. Now, I think that the hardest move for Railtown will be from about $1. I think as soon as the news comes out, the stock's over $1. But I think the hardest part of the move might be from $1 to some number, maybe $3. I don't know. I don't know all the parameters and all the guidelines in all the different funds, but one of the easiest moves for Railtown, and we'll find out. We don't know all this for sure yet, but one of the easiest moves will be from $5 to 15 or $5 to 13. That'll be one of the easiest moves. Why? Because a lot of the big wealth advisors at Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley will be able to recommend the stock to their clients if they even know how to recommend stocks. But more importantly, the institutions that are precluded from buying the stock below $5, below $1 billion market cap, below $10, below $7, as they cross those thresholds, those institutions who want to own AI, they'll jump on it. So it'll be very quick as a move, I think. But yes, I've seen a lot of companies do it. You just haven't seen it. There's no market. There's no price discovery in the over-the-counter market or in the NASDAQ. The two exchanges are jokes. Adina Friedman is a joke. Cromwell, whatever, Colson Cromwell, he's a joke. Um, uh, Railtown's going to be more like, and I'm not comparing the stock price or the market cap, but it'll be more like Tesla once it gets going. And I'm not comparing the prices. What I'm comparing is the criminals who try to short these down and destroy the market caps. They're going to meet their match. They meet their match at Tesla, at Apple, at Nvidia. I'm not saying over the long run that those stocks are going to always have 70 times PE ratios. I'm not saying that. But for a period of time, every time the computers on the sell side sell stock that doesn't exist, if you have research at family offices, or if you have research at Canaccord, or if you have some of the early investors in Constellation Software, they have their teams. They have their targeted smart people studying these stocks, and they have the capital. So it's an offsetting power against the criminal shorts. And you haven't seen that happen anywhere that I know of. It's going to happen in Railtown, in my judgment. It's going to happen in Railtown. Railtown doesn't need to raise capital. They probably will raise capital because that's how Canaccord gets paid. That's a simple reason. They probably will want some strategic partners, and it always makes sense to have a little flexibility, but I don't think they'll raise a lot of capital. I think that the insiders' ownership positions and their motives are aligned with ours, so I don't expect a big raise just for the heck of it. And I think you'll see I think you're going to see what a stock market looks like once they get this news announced. I guess that's my bottom line. What a real stock market looks like. And I don't think Railtown will be an even a Canadian stock exchange stock for very long. I think they'll, move it to a better exchange. No more questions. All right, it's 3:36, 20 minutes left. Let's see what's happening. Railtown is 50.5031 by 51. I'm so proud of you guys that you're hanging in there. I really am. The volume is only 151,000 shares. The Nixie is up 17 cents at $1.91. CJYL is down a little bit at 64.51. G-Bucks is down 10 cents at 70 cents. And NRGV is up 5 cents, 5.5 cents at 147.50. 1.72 million shares. It's pretty good volume, but it's less than the average volume recently. M10 is up $1.73 at 15.23. And those are the two stocks that Frank's going to want, at least now, Frank's going to want you to swap out a Railtown for, or don't put the money with Railtown, put it there and you'll find out whether or not those will move and do something. Personally, I'd put everything in Railtown because the um, risk reward, the risk is not as high, and the reward, in my judgment, is just as good. So, except it might take more time if these are going to go anytime soon. Railtown is now 50 cents on the last trade, 0.503, and I'm almost legend. Don't listen to my concern that this is going to take until September. I think it. I mean, it could. It calms you down if in your head you just plan on it taking until uh, September. But there's no reason to believe Railtown couldn't finish uh, whatever it is they're working. Is it documentation? Is it business terms? Is it, I don't know what is going on, but it could be finished anytime. I mean, it could be this afternoon, but I think it's pretty soon. So you don't have to, you do not, I don't think you're going to have to worry about your 5X to 10X much longer. I think you'll be able to see it happen soon. All right. 0.5031 to 0.51, 26,500 to 8,400, 151,000 shares traded. The two green stocks that I have are MTEN and NRGV. They're both green. Otherwise, everything's red, including Railtown right now. But we're not in it for one day's action. We're not in it for we're not in it for hot money. I hope we're not in it for hot money. All right, it's exactly 20 minutes to go. Let's see if there's any other news that can kill a little bit of that. The Hill says Trump to Washington, drop dead. Mamdani is leading the New York City mayoral race by 19 points. Wow. I won't get involved in that, but I guess the Epstein investigation is going on in other directions, but I don't want to bring that up. I mean, I brought it up, but I don't want to point out what they're saying. Netanyahu, if we quote, if we wanted to commit genocide, it would have taken exactly one afternoon. He's so bad. He is so bad. All right, just almost 15 minutes left. There are bad indications behind the scenes on the bond market, and that's troubling, but we'll see. All right, 343, 0.5031 to 0.51, 152,000 shares. So I'm sorry it's boring, but it'll be boring for the next 15 minutes, and then I'm going to sign off. My head is kind of pounding. I wonder why. I wonder why it does that. I wonder why. If that's a bad sign or not. It's not good, I don't think. I don't think it's good. 0.5031 to 0.51. You guys are holding tight. I'm really impressed. I'm really, really impressed. .5031 to 0.51. I guess I'm almost legend. One of the hard things is, and we don't have enough information, one of the hard things is if you see 5x or 10x in Railtown, which I believe is going to happen, I don't think it's the time to sell the stock. I really don't. I really don't. But we'll have more information on that once the company is released from its quiet period. And I think it's going to get exciting. One more question, if I may. Do you still have concerns about Railtown squeeze? Yes, I do. I am still concerned there'll be a squeeze. Why am I concerned about a squeeze? I would summarize it in two things. One, if it only squeezes, let's say, to $10 or $15 and you sell, you might not be able to get back in. Now, that blonde platinum chick and Tony De Niro, that doesn't make sense to them. But my point is, let's say you got out at 15 and you say, well, I'm going to buy it when it pulls back. But maybe it only pulls back to 12 or 13, and institutions come in and buy the stock. They take the stock off the market, basically, because they're not going to sell. They're buying it for performance for the long term. And as the price goes up, the shorts may not be allowed to sell stock that doesn't exist either. So you may find there's just not very much stock available to buy. That's one. And then secondly, what's the right price to get out at? Is it 15 or is it 50 or is it 100? I mean, the numbers, I showed you these numbers, and they're little, I know they seem extreme, but the lowest targeted price, that $3 billion addressable market, at 12.5 times multiple, that's $6 target. And it's completely reasonable. But some of these other targets are huge. So if you get out at 13 and there's no pullback to speak of, and it ends up going to $75 over the next 18 months, 2 years, how do you how do you benefit from that? So yeah, I get nervous about it. I think there will be a short squeeze potential because of these numbers. I mean, you can see how big the numbers are. The percentages, none of these numbers are the most recent. So I don't have the most recent, so let's not focus on it. We've got about 12 minutes to go. It's 0.5031 by 0.51. The last trade is 0.5072, and that was 5,038 shares. I'm sure that's a communication, that 38 shares. That's a nice trade if someone bought it here, 0.5072. We now have exactly 12 minutes to go. And we'll see what happens. Feels like a long time. Feels like a long time. Been waiting such a long time. I really must be going. Tariffs haven't caused inflation. Ukraine's population no longer really supports the war. The US deficit explodes in July, despite tariff revenues as government spending soars. We spent 630 billion in July. It's a lot of money. That is a lot of squid. All right, 9 minutes to go. Railtown isn't really trading. It's down less than a penny. Its last trade is 0.5072. It's still there. Well, no questions. It's the dog days of August. Dog days of August. And no trade in Railtown. It's just sitting here. It's just sitting here. Today is Tuesday, I think. So we still have some more time this week for something to happen, maybe. But like I say, we have to be ready for September. That way we're calm. If it takes that long. Let's go see what's happening to Novak Djokovic. I know you're bored, but there's no reason I have to be. Just kidding. Novak Djokovic is getting ready for the U.S. Open. Former tennis stars discuss Novak Djokovic's future. Not very much news. Okay, here's the U.S. Open seeds 2 weeks from now. It's not final, but it'd be Alcaraz and Sinner. Jannik Sinner will be number 1. Alcaraz will be number 2. Zverev will be number 3. Fritz will be number 4. And number 5 will be Jack Draper. Number 6 will be Novak Djokovic. Shelton might beat Djokovic, so I guess Djokovic could be number 7. Novak Djokovic leaves Jimmy Connors worried. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I have to get used to a world without Djokovic. All right, 5 minutes to go. The bid is 0.5031 for 26,500 shares. The ask is 51 cents for 8,400 shares. The volume has picked up a little bit. It's 159,440. It's still in the red. The last 2 trades, there was a trade for 2,000 shares at 0.5072. And there was a trade for 220 shares at 0.5055. So not a huge amount of volume. There's now 4 minutes to go. No change. Giuseppe, why do you think the press release in February said, quote, to be finalized in a couple of weeks? I don't think it said a couple of weeks. I think it said in a few weeks. Do you think the scope of the work was underestimated? Yeah, I think that's probably right. If you think it through, Giuseppe, you've got to do, both sides have to do due diligence on each other. Maybe Canaccord does that as the banker, but I don't know. Maybe they do it independently. But that probably takes some time. I don't know. You got to see the books. You got to see the cap table. You got to meet some of the people. You've got to visit the different companies. It takes time. I mean, I would imagine the mutual due diligence could have been 2-3 months. And assuming everybody still said, let's go forward, then you get into the, who gets the corner office, who gets the parking space next to the exit, who gets the parking space next to the front door, who gets the decision-making power. Yeah, there's a whole lot of negotiations to go on just between Railtown and AI partners. But then imagine the negotiations that have to go on to keep the network companies in the fold. And then I would imagine there's also negotiations with the regulators and even the exchanges. Yeah, maybe they underestimated the scope of it. They must have. They must have. 2 minutes to go, 0.5031. Now it's 0.0503. Now it's 0.5031. And the ask is 0.51 at 84,000. It closed yesterday at 0.5115. So we'll get a red close today. They have the ask down. But yeah, it'll be in the red today, that helps the criminals. But we're one day closer, whenever it comes, to the news, I think, of a final agreement. And I think it's pretty obvious when they released that joint press release 2 weeks ago that, if there were something wrong with this acquisition, it would have already been announced, in my opinion. All right, it closed at 51 cents. It's not a bad close. It's still in the red slightly, down 0.30%. Very small, a third of a percent. And now the ask is 54.99. The volume 186,000. So I guess they did a trade at 8,000, 200, 275, 1,000, and 1,500. So there were a bunch of trades at the end. The only one at 51 cents was 1,500 shares. Some of the other stocks, NRGV 143, GBuck 70, M10 1418, CJYL 6366. So anyway, I'm going to call it quits at 4:01. And I appreciate everybody being here. I congratulate everybody for still being in the stock. I think you're about to get rewarded for that. If we're lucky, it's this week. I think at worst, it'll be the first week of September, but I think it's coming sooner than September. So I wish everybody peace. I hope you have a nice evening, and we'll talk again tomorrow.